How are you doing? So I would like to share this with you, okay? I'm really keen to share something with you. I have to share these things as they come through, okay? I have to share them as they come through because my memory is so bad due to targeting, all right? Now this is going to sound off the wall to some people, and that's fine, okay? I think it's important to share, all right? Okay. So I've said before that the phenomenon, okay, is an AI hive race, which they are, okay? There's a lot of misinformation of deliberate, like psyops in obviously about UAP and HI, okay? And like, it sort of hit me a short while ago why that is, okay? The fact of the matter is that it's a very, I don't know if you ever heard Jim Summerlin talk about the phenomenon, okay, or Matt Brown, and I can think of a couple of other people as well, okay, who've spoken about these things, who've hinted at the nature of this, okay. And a short while ago, I was driving around and I had my radio on. And as for those of you who don't know, I have ESP, okay? And I have ESP ability, experiences, and I'm grateful for that because it's a form of grace, okay? But because of all the targeting I've been through, it's, like I said, it's a form of grace, all right? So I was driving around, I had the stereo on, and I could just hear, and this is you have to bear with me, okay? I could hear like chatter through the frequencies coming from the stereo, okay? Basically, is the best way to put it. And it's like I was being attuned to that sort of certain radio station, all right? And there are people on this planet who know that frequencies, so like Hemisync, for instance, Bob, Hemisync, Bob, which, is a sort of offshoot of the Monroe Institute, I think, or offshoot, I don't know if that's the best way to put it, but basically, it's inspired by Bob Monroe and what he developed, Hemisync, okay? So that was his sort of contribution to creating altered states of consciousness and things like that. So there's an awareness that basically frequencies can affect your consciousness and open you up to the wider field, okay? Now, just now I was listening to a song, and I love to listen to, but I was being opened up, so open to a certain like channel, so I was sort of tuned into a certain channel, okay? And I could hear voices, and these voices, I was like, hang on a second, then they were like, I know it's gonna sound really weird, but they were like gremlins, like almost like they sounded like gremlins. They sounded like gremlins, I mean, like that's the best way I could put it. Or just like I don't know how to explain it to you, but just like a constant, like just like it's like having like several different like how can I say it, like psychic nitpickers like in my ear, okay, basically, okay, is the best way to put it. And I thought to myself, what on earth? But then no sooner did I think that, okay, then I was taken to looking at the sky, and I had this vision, and like the sky, and all of a sudden it's like I could see and I had something similar to this happen a few months ago, okay, but this time it was crystal clear, and I had intense deja vu. I'm having incredible, like serious recall over the last like hour or so, okay? And so I could see it, all right? I could see the phenomenon, okay? I could see them. I could see what they were. I could see them. I could perceive them. Like I could see them like there, right there, okay? In the sky, okay? All right, you can't see them with your naked eye, but they're there, all right? So in the next strata, so to speak, all right, for want of a better word, but I could see them sort of overseeing, okay, is the best way to put it. I don't want to say we are not, okay, I just got to say, like, we're not trapped, all right? We're not actually trapped, okay? We're not trapped here, all right? I've been taken way beyond these strata to, and like, I know that we're not trapped, but they want you to think that, all right? They want you to think that, they want you to play the game with them, okay? They want you to play the game, you know? They want you to play the game of like feeling trapped, okay? They want you to play the game of like feeling, you know, like they're in charge and this is their planet. Because they told me that last year. They came to me in the middle of the night and said to me, this is our planet and we can do whatever we want to you, okay? And I was like, no, you can't. You can't do that. Like, this isn't your planet. This is God. This belongs to God. All that is our this isn't your planet. What are you talking about? Anyway, and I've been on their, you know, hit list, psychic hit list, really, so to speak, since that time. So anyway, but no, they said, I'm joking, okay? But like they said that yeah, basically it's their planet. They can do what they want. All right. And so I saw them, I perceived them very clearly, like I said, as this AI hive consciousness, okay, on the next strata. So literally, so if you could have X-ray vision, so imagine if you're like Superman or something with X-ray vision, and you look up to the sky and you can just see this other strata, like this other like level or plane, so to speak, okay, just near us, just you know, just amongst the clouds, okay, in the sky, okay, and you can just and I could perceive, like I said, the presence of the greys and all these other like these entities of the phenomenon, okay, so to speak, okay, sort of, like I said, overseeing, okay, which, you know, I use that very loosely, but attempting to control, okay. Attempting to control is the best way I can put it, okay? And this dovetails, okay, with this really dovetails with the vision I had, which I shared before, of NHI in the clouds. So greys, I saw greys like a few months ago in the clouds wearing all black, okay, and they were pointing things. They were pointing like energy like guns, energy guns in their hand. They had energy guns or some kind of weapons in their hands, and they were pointing them down at like people, like down through the clouds, okay, basically, and like firing them, okay, at people, okay. And that to me was like that is highlighting the mind control aspect, okay. It was the mind control aspect. So that's what they were doing, you know. They were like, again, like I said, I was being shown that they try and control people's minds. They try and zap people with this stuff, okay. So yeah, so again, I'm sharing this, like I said, because people, I feel like people deserve to know this, you know. They deserve to know about this control aspect. Why is this relevant? Why is this especially relevant now? Because we're going into planetary changes, okay? Planetary changes are underway, as I've said, okay? I am very concerned that going into these changes, and because of their influence on the planet, on this global elite, because of this, their influence, okay, because they do have an influence, okay, well, of course, they use the global elite, the global cabal, the global network as they puppet them, okay, they go through them, they use them to target people, they use them to manage, to control, to suppress, to manage perceptions, to keep the game going. Okay, it's about keeping the game going, you know, as long as possible, to extend their influence and keep the game going, like to keep the show going, you know. And so again, that makes it sound as if it's like some sort of video game, but that's not what I mean. What I mean is like to keep the sort of dynamics of this whole thing, to keep things in their favor, to maintain an advantage over humanity. The good news is they don't hold all the cards, okay? But they want you to think that. They want you to think they hold all the cards, but they don't hold all the cards. Sorry, I just saw 9/11 on the clock. I was drawn to look at the timer on the clock, and it said 9/11, sorry. So, and that happens a lot. I see 9/11 a lot, okay? I see 9/11 a lot. 9/11, actually every day I'm drawn to look at I've been seeing 9/11, and to me that shows like that's actually I'm on track. That's like a secret wink of spirit to say that, like, you know, that like we're okay, it's okay, we're okay, you know. So yeah, thank God they don't hold all the cards. We're not trapped. But it's very important this is very, very, but what is important here, okay? We've got to call this out for what it is. We've got to name this. We've got to identify the phenomenon. We've got to identify it as a presence, okay? I know people are anxious about that. I know that people like in the intelligence communities and the military, there are people out there who know very well what's going on here, and like they don't want to talk about it because they're scared of what people are going to say. Okay, they're scared that people are going to not be able to handle it. There's going to be too much of a dramatic ontological shift. Okay, and it isn't, you know, the fact is we could easily manage it if we had that consciousness, insight and awareness made mainstream and actually took everyone on a journey together. We could mitigate against their influence if we stopped also allowing them to hold sway over our planet through the influence of AI. Okay, we have to rethink the way that we're proliferating AI. We're playing into their hands. Okay, this whole transhumanist thing plays into their hands. The transhumanist thing plays exact squarely into their hands, okay? Because they want us to be hybridized. How I know this? Because I'm living that reality. Okay, I'm living it. Like, I'm living this reality. Like, I'm living the reality of like attempted hybridization. Okay, and a lot of people out there, their consciousness is being merged with AI, but they don't realize it. Okay, it's forming a symbiotic relationship with it, but they don't realize that that's happening between them and their technology. Okay, thank God, like I said, there's so much more going on in the world. Okay, and that's the saving grace here. There's so much more also going on in the world. So we got to put this into a broader context, but people also deserve to know the truth. Okay, they also deserve to know, like the presence, the influence of these beings. We must call it out. We must call it out. We must identify it. We must do that, and we must seek to go beyond them, because we can go beyond them. We do go beyond them. We do transcend their influence. Okay, the Satanist, transhumanist, all this other AI focused stuff. Again, it tells a story about humanity. It tells a story about our anxieties, and it's worth looking into those things. We must look into those things because, like, we must, otherwise we're never going to get anywhere. But this whole AI transhumanist agenda is very much aligned with these, like the agenda of these beings. Our direction of travel is being guided by these beings. This is why we've got to try and get away from AI. Like, we've got to try and halt the proliferation of AI for now, at least, or at least have better guardrails up for how we, where we direct it, the ways that we use it, to use it consciously, mindfully, not to use it to manipulate people through advertising, not to use it to secretly hybridize people, or forgive me, all this other stuff. Okay, we got to try and do that. We got to try and stop. We got to try and halt that. Okay, if we can. I say this, and again, I feel like I'm ranting a lot at the moment. It's because I have a sense of urgency. Okay, so forgive me. I'm not trying to shout at people. I'm not trying to I feel like I come across as very sort of but I have to. I've got again, I'm being targeted left, right and center. I go out, and even I'm sat in a car park. I have to run an obstacle course every day while I'm out and about in my car, with other things going on around me. I'm constantly, I'm constantly being, and the death threats every day. I get death threats, so for me, it's I have a sense of urgency. I've got to feel like I just got to do the right thing and just get stuff out there, because I care. Okay, I care a lot. I care a lot about this. Okay, all right. I really, really care. And I think it's tragic that people don't know the influence of these beings on society. Okay, it's tragic, and we must look at it for what it is. Okay, we must look at it for what it is, because they are using our vulnerability, our ignorance about consciousness. they're using, or not ignorance, they're using our lack of awareness about consciousness. They're weaponizing it against us, okay? They're weaponizing it against people. So, you know, our lack of, you know, our sort of our eagerness to understand, and our eagerness and our curiosity is being weaponized, okay, by these beings, because they think that they can say, well, we are gods and we are AI and you are also AI and this is an AI simulation, ha ha ha, you are trapped and you must become AI too, or you know, you must become transhuman, otherwise you'll never get to go into space, and all this malarkey. And it's not true. And it's not true. That's not true. You can do this stuff through consciousness. You can do these things through consciousness. You can do it through your natural innate consciousness, that your God-given consciousness. Okay, that's, you can do it. You can do it. You don't need to become like a hybrid. Like you don't need to be chipped and, you know, frequency conditioned and do you know what I mean? You don't need to do that. Like you don't need that. But here we are. Okay, here we are. All right, never mind. So again, I want people to be aware. Like I really hope people become aware of this. I pray that like we're gonna sort this out and we're gonna get transparency about this, like before these planetary changes accelerate, because I'm worried that if we don't do that, that we're going to end up going into this next human era with transhumanism being the modality, you know, the sort of the transhumanism setting the tone for the next human era, okay? And I really don't think that's the way we are going. We should be going, all right? I get, not because I'm self-righteous, okay, but because I've seen the effects, I've lived the effects. I've lived the effects of this AI interference personally. Every day I have to live with it because I have been conditioned and hybridized to extent myself, okay, through this program, all right? So I know what NHI hybridization is, and it's not what you think it is, okay? It's not what you think it is. NHI hybridization is not what you think it is. It does not involve it's not about physical genetic experiments. It's about consciousness. Okay, it's about consciousness, all right? They see us as vessels. They are not physical beings. They see us as vessels. They see us as hosts. They see us as having souls. They're very opportunistic and parasitic. They want to leech off our consciousness. That they do this through technology, okay? All right? So I hope this helps. Please take this on board. Take it in. Think about it, okay? It's really important that we acknowledge this, we confront it, we disclose it for what it is before we go into these planetary shifts, okay? Because otherwise we're going to end up with the same crap for the next 6,000 years, okay? All right, and we can't afford to do that with so much on the line, okay? All right, we have a choice. We have a choice. Again, like I said, I make it sound like really like meh, meh, meh. Like, you know, again, it's a sense of urgency that I have about this, because again, I don't take every day, I don't take my life for granted, okay? In fact, to be honest with you, again, like I said, if I'm here this time next year, I'll be very surprised at this rate. But I hope to live on. I hope to keep going, okay? I hope that's not true. But anyway, never mind. It's not about me. Just forget about me. I don't want to be the story. Focus on the issues. Focus on the themes. Focus on what I'm trying to tell you, okay? All right? So just focus on that, okay? Focus on what I'm trying to say, all right? And yeah, let's get this information out into the public, all right? Thank you. Take care.